Hey there, and thanks for tuning into Duck Bricks. I'm Chris, aka the Brick Archivist, and today I'm coming to you with another video, a very special one showcasing something that ties into the release of the Mandalorian Season 2. Today we will be looking at every single LEGO Mandalorian related figure and bounty hunter that they have done for LEGO Star Wars as a whole. So let's take a look. Alright, so as we approach the frame here, you'll first notice that just one of these is missing. The one that I'm missing is actually a very unique variant of Jango Fett. It is almost identical to this figure right here, except the lines on his torso are stacked double length, and the printing on the legs is just very slightly different, but otherwise, it's completely the same. The reason why I don't have it is because it was so similar to this version that I actually didn't realize that it was different, and I accidentally sold him. So at some point I will get that back, but it's not a high priority because it's just so similar to this one. But other than that, I do have all of the other bounty hunters and Mandalorian figures. So starting off, we have the very first Jango Fett from 2002 in the only iteration of Jango Fett's Slave One that we ever got. You can see this one actually has a pretty unique headpiece here, a specialized print back when everyone's skin was still yellow for LEGO licensed figures. And of course, he has the classic helmet and jetpack piece that's been molded all in one. So let's put that back there. And technically when you display him, you're supposed to turn that head the other way around so it's purely black, but I just decided to showcase the face because it's kind of a special print. And then moving on, we have this Jango Fett, which was used in the 2013 Attack of the Clones sets. He came in some of these Separatist tank sets. And this one you can see has a pretty standard head, just a smiling expression that they give to the Bobas and Jango Fett minifigures. And of course, this one's a much more modernized version of this. Moving on to here, we have a special variant, the Santa Jango Fett figure with a special carrying case for presents, as well as a red Mandalorian outfit, which will definitely be useful for custom Mandos if that ever comes up. And then over here, we have the three versions of the young Boba Fett minifigure, starting off with this very first one, which came alongside his father, Jango Fett, in his Slave One. And then we have two, one of them from the Advent Calendar and one from Obi-Wan's Starfighter and Hyperdrive Ring. But then moving on down to here, we have all of the Boba Fett figures, starting off with this very first one. And technically there are two variants of this. There is an old gray and a new gray version, but I've only put one here because I already do have the new gray kind of represented with a different belt color, so I figured it's pretty much the same thing. Now this is probably one of the rarest minifigures I own in my collection in general. It is the Cloud City Boba Fett minifigure. This is an extremely rare figure. It retails for around $300+ on Bricklink, and I'm very lucky to have actually owned the original Cloud City set, so I did not actually need to pay that much to get this figure. The reason why it is so rare is that because it only appeared in the Cloud City set from 2003, it had arm printing, which was very rare for a minifigure of that time, and even pretty rare nowadays, and even had belt and leg printing. And they never would release this figure ever again. And since that set was so large, not a lot of people got it, and pretty limited release, that's what makes this figure so rare. But then moving on, we have, as I mentioned, the newer gray with a red belt, and then we get to the modern variants right here, and I've put the one from the Ultimate Collector Series Slave One kind of at the forefront here because this one, again, did have arm printing, which was really nice to get. He has also appeared in the Cloud City, the Betrayal on Cloud City set. So there's actually two sets which have this figure. The face is slightly different, but everything on the exterior is the same. And you can see how it's interesting how his pauldron went from plain to printed over the years. Over here is another very special figure, not quite as rare as this one, but still quite valuable on the aftermarket, around $75 to $80 worth, is this original May the 4th promo white Boba Fett figure. This, of course, represents the prototype Boba Fett armor, where preliminary designs for the Empire Strikes Back movie, he was originally supposed to be a Special Forces stormtrooper, which was why he was all white, and they updated it recently for one of the Character Encyclopedia visual dictionaries, so it's kind of nice to get the old and new versions alongside each other. But then moving on from Boba Fett, we have the rest of the Mandalorian characters. This, of course, is Pre Vizsla, leader of the Death Watch, who was most prominent in the Clone Wars television show. He's got a really unique pauldron here with a special print, alongside one of his Death Watch troopers, which, to be honest, is a little bit plain compared to everything else. This was in an era where leg printing was relatively rare, so we didn't get a detailed leg print like we did for Boba Fett's, so he just has the plain blue legs, and the same goes for these Mandalorian Super Commandos. Exterior-wise, there's nothing that actually differentiates these guys from each other, but they do have slightly different faces. You can see the face of this one very quickly there, and the face of this one, just slightly different expressions. So I decided to include both of them, mostly because it makes the design of this whole plate even. We have a special bounty hunter, and this was never actually said to be a Mandalorian for this minifigure, but he does have the helmet, so I did include him alongside the rest of them. It is a bit of a different design than the rest of them, so he probably isn't a Mandalorian, but he does fit in with this design. And this was actually something that LEGO created themselves for the Yoda Chronicles, which is only semi-canon, mostly non-canon, so I don't think this guy's ever actually appeared in canonical Star Wars media. Alongside here are some of the Mandalorians from the Battle Pack, which was featured in the Mandalorian TV show. Of course, this was alongside Season 1, where it showcased a ton of different Mandalorians. And when LEGO first came out with this set, a lot of people were assuming that the very colorful designs were something that was made up by LEGO. But in fact, if you look at some of the style guides, and if you look very closely in the show, you can see all of these exact helmets being used in the live action version. So this actually wasn't too colorful. It was actually surprisingly sticking within the canon there. But then, of course, we have the main attraction, Mandalorian himself, Djarin. You can see his minifigure, unfortunately, has not changed since his debut last year. We've gotten him in 2 sets so far, the AT-ST Raider set, and of course his own Bounty Hunter Transport or Razor Crest set, depending on what area of the world you're living in. That might be called something different. And he, of course, just has a plain black head underneath, so nothing to see there. But one thing that a lot of fans have been wanting to see for an upgrade of this figure is that this figure was only accurate to the first 1 or 2 episodes of the show, because after that, he got an upgrade where he got a completely silver color scheme and armor palette right here. So a lot of people are wondering why they did not update this figure for Season 2, but in 2021 we will be getting a $30 Mandalorian Hero Transport set, so hopefully, if everything goes well, we will be getting a new version of him, but we'll see. They might just reuse this old one. Of course, right next to him, ending the series on all these Mandalorians, we've got Baby Yoda, or the child, a wonderful Lego figure, and he actually comes in 2 sets. He comes in the buildable Baby Yoda, as well as the Razor Crest. Alongside Mando, we've got the rest of his crew, so we've got Cara Dune, Greef Karga, and IG-11. They actually came out with a specialized head print for IG-11 here. It is different from the IG-88 prints, which you can see right there, so they did actually do something special for that. And then moving on, we have just some other bounty hunters. You've got Zam Wessel, and so on. Of course, Hondo Ohnaka and some Weequay pirates. Aurra Sing was also a pretty prominent one, as well as, of course, Cad Bane, who was very prominent in the Clone Wars TV show, as well as the rest of these guys like Embo, who is also a major figure there. And then we get to the Empire Strikes Back background bounty hunters, which some of them actually did appear in the Clone Wars show as well, chief of which being Dengar. We've actually got quite a few different upgrades of Dengar throughout the years, the most exclusive of which was the one that was included in the Super Star Destroyer, the UCS set, so a very rare figure to get nowadays, but it's very nice that they actually included an upgrade of him in the Bounty Hunter Battle Pack, and also threw him in one of the Star Wars Freemaker Adventures semi-canon sets that LEGO made themselves. Over here, we finally have minifigure variants of both Zuckuss and Forlum, who were released in the Bounty Hunter Battle Pack in 2017 and 2019 Slave 1, respectively, alongside the 2 different versions of Bossk right here. It's kind of nice that they actually printed his claw piece there on his feet, which is, of course, indicative of how he looked in the movies and the shows with his feet exposed. And then IG-88, honestly, nothing too crazy going on here, just 2 different prints for the head. And then moving on, we kind of just have some miscellaneous rogues and bounty hunter-like characters. So we've got some characters from Solo, the Star Wars story movie. Over here, we've got, we've got some of the Force Awakens rogues, and I am missing this guy's head. I have it somewhere else, so I will be putting his head back on his body once I find him. But overall, these are all of the bounty hunters of Star Wars, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. I actually will be adding a lot more to this wall, because if you look over here, the minifigures from the Tatooine Mos Eisley Cantina Master Builder set have not actually been sorted in yet, so I'll probably be scattering some of them over here. And of course, some of the minifigures here on this Tatooine section are bounty hunters themselves, like Greedo here. This is the rarest variant with the printed arms, which you can see right there, but then he's got some 2 newer variants as well. So you can see the rest of the scum and villainy section kind of right here. But I hope you enjoyed this look at these Star Wars minifigures, and thank you so much for tuning in, and stay tuned to Duckbricks for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, analyses, and more coming your way very soon. Thank you, and bye-bye for now.